I have the man, the success, and the penthouse overlooking San Francisco Bay. 3 years ago at my company's biggest charity gala, she smiled in front of 200 people and said, "Poor Sophia, 34 and still married to your work." Meanwhile, I'm planning a destination wedding with Ryan. Guess some of us just know how to keep a man. I smiled back that night. A real smile. Because standing beside me, his hand resting protectively on the small of my back, was Alexander Chen, the tech entrepreneur whose company had just been valued at $800 million. The man who'd beaten Ryan's law firm in the biggest acquisition deal of the year. She recognized him the moment I called him over. Her champagne glass trembled in her hand, her smile vanished. Her entire face went pale. But I should start at the beginning. Christina had been my best friend since freshman year at Berkeley. We'd survived late-night study sessions, terrible boyfriends, and the brutal architecture program together. She was the sister I'd never had, the person I called first with good news, the one who held my hand through my mother's cancer treatments. 20 years of friendship, built on what I thought was unshakable trust. When I met Ryan Mitchell 3 years ago at a legal conference for my firm, I thought I'd found everything. He was a senior partner at Morrison & Hayes, one of San Francisco's most prestigious law firms. Confident, articulate, ambitious. He wore custom suits and knew how to order wine. My father, before he passed, would have approved. Christina lit up every time I mentioned Ryan's name. She'd lean forward, asking endless questions about our dates, our plans, our future. I thought she was just being supportive. Excited for me. She'd always been unlucky in love, cycling through relationships that never quite worked out. I wanted her to see that good men existed, that love was possible. Looking back now, I can see the signs I missed. The way she'd touch Ryan's arm when she laughed at his jokes, her fingers lingering just a moment too long. How she'd insist on sitting next to him at dinners, finding excuses to lean close. The time she showed up at my apartment in a new dress, asking if it looked good, right before she knew Ryan was coming over. I remember telling myself she just wanted to be included. That she was lonely. That I was lucky to have a best friend who got along so well with my boyfriend. God, I was so naive. The night I discovered the truth started like any other. I'd been working late at the firm, finishing the final drawings for a mixed-use development project that could make my career. It was nearly midnight when I realized I'd left my presentation notes at home. Ryan had a key to my apartment. He'd offered to grab them and meet me at the office. But when I called to check on him, his phone went straight to voicemail. Then Christina's did too. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. The kind of instinct you try to ignore because acknowledging it means your world is about to shatter. I drove to my apartment. Ryan's car was parked outside. So was Christina's. I found them in my living room. On my couch. Her legs were draped across his lap, his hand on her thigh. They weren't having sex, but they didn't need to be. The intimacy in their posture, the way they looked at each other, told me everything. They didn't hear me come in at first. I stood there, frozen, listening to Christina say, "We just have to be careful until after the wedding. Once you're married, we can figure it out. Sophia will be so busy with her career, she'll never notice." Ryan laughed. Actually laughed. "She's already so busy. Last Tuesday she worked until 10. I told her I had a client dinner, and we had 3 hours at my place." The presentation folder slipped from my hands. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. Christina's face went white. Ryan stood up so fast he nearly knocked her over. They both started talking at once, words tumbling over each other. Explanations, excuses, justifications. It didn't matter. I couldn't hear them over the roaring in my ears. I told them to get out. My voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes right before you shatter. Christina tried to grab my arm. "Soph, please, let me explain. It just happened. We didn't mean for it to. Get out of my apartment." I pulled away from her touch. "Both of you." Ryan had the audacity to look hurt. "Sophia, if you'd just listen." I said get out. They left. I locked the door behind them, slid down to the floor, and finally let myself break. The next morning, I called off the wedding. Ryan sent flowers with a note begging for another chance. Christina sent 17 text messages, each more desperate than the last. I blocked them both. I threw myself into work because work was the only thing that made sense anymore. Buildings had structure, logic, rules you could follow to create something beautiful. People were chaos. My senior partner, Margaret Chen, noticed something was wrong during a meeting. After everyone else left, she asked if I was okay. I told her the abbreviated version. She listened without interrupting, then said something I'll never forget. The best revenge is a life well lived, Sophia. Show them what they lost. I decided to take her advice. 6 months passed. I threw myself into projects with an intensity that bordered on obsession. I won a regional design award. I was promoted to junior partner. At 34, I was one of the youngest partners in the firm's history. But the architecture community in San Francisco is small. Intimate. I couldn't avoid Christina forever. We had mutual friends, mutual professional connections. She worked in interior design, so our paths crossed at industry events. The first time I saw her after the breakup was at a gallery opening. She was wearing a diamond on her left hand. Ryan's ring. I felt sick, but I held my head high and walked right past her without acknowledgement. The second time was worse. It was at a networking event for the city's annual charity gala, a black tie affair where everyone who was anyone showed up to see and be seen. The event raised millions for children's hospitals. Our firm was a major sponsor, and I'd been chosen to represent us on the planning committee. Christina cornered me by the bar. She looked different. Thinner. More polished. Her hair was professionally styled, her dress clearly expensive. Ryan's money, I thought bitterly. Sophia. Her voice was tentative. I've been hoping we could talk. There's nothing to talk about. I ordered a vodka tonic, not looking at her. I know you're angry. I'm not angry, Christina. I'm done. I took my drink and walked away, feeling her eyes on my back. I should mention that during these 6 months I'd gone to therapy. Dr. Martinez helped me understand that Christina's betrayal hurt worse than Ryan's because I'd lost more than a relationship. I'd lost 20 years of friendship. The person I trusted most in the world had looked me in the eye, hugged me, asked about my wedding plans, all while sleeping with my fiancé. Dr. Martinez also helped me work through my trust issues. She encouraged me to stay open to new relationships, even though I felt like I'd never trust anyone again. That's how I met Alexander. It was at a coffee shop near my firm, 3 weeks before the charity gala. I was working on my laptop, and he sat down at the table next to mine. His phone rang. He silenced it, apologized for the noise, and went back to his own work. 15 minutes later, it rang again. He looked frustrated but answered this time. I couldn't help overhearing his side of the conversation, something about investors, a product launch, timeline concerns. He sounded stressed but patient, explaining complex technical concepts in simple terms. When he hung up, he caught me looking. Sorry about that. Hazard of being in tech. The fires never stop. No apology necessary. Hazard of being an architect. The deadlines never stop either. I gestured to my laptop screen, covered in CAD drawings. He smiled. It was a nice smile. Genuine. Alexander Chen. Sofia Rivera. We started talking. Just casual conversation at first, but it flowed naturally. He was funny without trying too hard, smart without being condescending. He asked about my work with actual interest, not the polite but glazed-over expression I usually got when I mentioned architecture. An hour passed. Then 2. By the time we both realized we'd been talking instead of working, the sun was setting. This might be forward, he said, but could I take you to dinner sometime? I promise my phone will be on silent. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to say no. To protect myself. To never trust anyone enough to get hurt again. But Dr. Martinez's voice was in my head. Don't let fear write your story, Sophia. I'd like that, I heard myself say. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant in North Beach. Alexander showed up in jeans and a blazer, refreshingly underdressed compared to Ryan's constant need to showcase status. We talked for 4 hours. He told me about growing up in San Jose, about his parents' restaurant, about teaching himself to code as a kid. About dropping out of Stanford to start his first company at 22. It failed spectacularly, he said with a laugh. Lost everything. Moved back in with my parents. Spent a year working at their restaurant, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. What did you do? Started another company. Applied everything I'd learned. It worked that time. He smiled, but there was humility in it. I got lucky. I doubt luck had much to do with it. He asked about my work, and I found myself telling him about the mixed-use development project. How it combined affordable housing with commercial space, using sustainable design principles. How it could change how people thought about urban development. You light up when you talk about your work, he observed. It's beautiful. No one had ever said that to me before. We dated for 2 months before I told him about Ryan and Christina. We were having dinner at his place, and he'd noticed me tense up when my phone buzzed with a message from a mutual friend mentioning Christina's engagement party. You don't have to tell me, he said gently. But if you want to, I'm listening. So I told him. Everything. The betrayal. The humiliation. The way I still flinched when I saw them at events. How I felt like I'd never fully trust anyone again. Alexander listened without judgment. When I finished, he reached across the table and took my hand. I'm glad they were stupid enough to lose you, he said. Because otherwise, I never would have met you. It was exactly what I needed to hear. Around this time, I started hearing whispers at industry events. Ryan's law firm was struggling. They'd lost a major client to a competitor in a high-stakes acquisition deal. The rumor was that Morrison and Hayes had underestimated the competition and got completely outmaneuvered. I didn't think much of it until Margaret pulled me aside one afternoon. That acquisition deal that Morrison and Hayes lost, she had a knowing look. Alexander Chen's company was on the other side. His in-house legal team apparently demolished their arguments. Ryan Mitchell was lead counsel for Morrison and Hayes. My stomach flipped. Alexander never mentioned it. Would you want him to? Margaret asked gently. He probably didn't want you to think he was dating you because of some connection to your ex. She was right. When I asked Alexander about it that night, he confirmed the deal but downplayed his involvement. It was business, he said. I didn't even know Ryan was your ex until weeks later when I Googled your firm and saw old engagement announcement articles. I almost told you then, but, he hesitated. I didn't want you to think I was using you, or that I saw you as revenge against him. You're not a pawn in anyone's game, Sophia. What we have has nothing to do with your past. I believed him. Because by then I knew Alexander. Knew his integrity. Knew he wasn't the type to play games. The charity gala was approaching. My firm had a table, and as junior partner, I was expected to bring a guest. I asked Alexander. He said yes without hesitation. Should I wear a tux, he asked. It's black tie. Then I'll wear a tux. He pulled me close. I'm looking forward to showing you off. I didn't tell him that Christina and Ryan would be there. I told myself it didn't matter. That I was over it. That seeing them wouldn't affect me. I was lying to myself. The night of the gala, I spent 2 hours getting ready. I chose a midnight blue gown that my stylist said made me look like old Hollywood elegance. Professional makeup. Hair in an elegant updo. When Alexander picked me up, his eyes widened. You're stunning, he said softly. You clean up pretty well yourself. He looked incredible in his tuxedo. Confident. Powerful. Like he belonged at events like this. The gala was held at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. The atrium was transformed with lighting, flowers, and dozens of round tables draped in white linens. A string quartet played in the corner. Champagne flowed freely. The city's elite mingled, air-kissing and making small talk. I saw Christina the moment we walked in. She was wearing red, a bold choice that made her stand out. Ryan stood beside her, looking uncomfortable in his tux. When Christina's eyes landed on me, her expression shifted. Surprise, then something calculating. She whispered something to Ryan and started walking toward us. Sophia. Her voice was bright, artificial. Oh my God, you look amazing. It's been so long. I kept my face neutral. Christina, I've missed you so much. She was laying it on thick. I know things ended badly, but I've been hoping we could reconnect. Life's too short to hold grudges, right? Alexander's hand moved to the small of my back. Protective, supportive. Christina's eyes flicked to him, then back to me. Aren't you going to introduce me to your date? Before I could respond, Ryan joined us. His face was carefully blank, but I saw the flicker of recognition when he looked at Alexander. They'd been on opposite sides of that acquisition deal. They knew each other, at least professionally. Ryan Mitchell. He extended his hand to Alexander. I don't believe we've met formally. Alexander Chen. They shook hands. I watched Rex with brief, polite responses. I built a wall between my old life and my new one, and I didn't look back. Until the email from my brother arrived 3 years after I'd left. Sarah, I'm getting married. I know we haven't talked much since you moved, but you're my sister. I can't imagine getting married without you there. The wedding's in Portland in 3 months. Please come. It would mean everything to me and to Emma. We miss you. I stared at that email for a long time. 3 years. 3 years of carefully constructed distance. 3 years of building a life where I didn't have to think about what my father had done, where I didn't have to see Mia and James and pretend everything was fine. But this was Michael. My baby brother, the one who'd called me crying when his first girlfriend dumped him, who I'd helped with his college applications, who'd always believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. I couldn't miss his wedding. I called him. His face on the video screen was older, more mature, but his smile was the same. You'll come? He asked, hopeful. I'll come, I said. On one condition. Anything. I'm bringing someone. I hadn't planned to say it. But as soon as the words were out, I knew I meant them. Michael's eyes widened. You're seeing someone? Sarah. That's amazing. Of course bring him. Or them. Whoever makes you happy. His name is Daniel, I said. That much was true. There was a Daniel. Daniel Park, CEO of a venture capital firm based in Hong Kong. We'd met at a conference in Tokyo 6 months ago, hit it off over terrible hotel coffee and a shared disdain for corporate buzzwords. We'd been seeing each other when our schedules aligned, which wasn't often, but when we were together, it felt easy. Natural. Nothing like James. Daniel actually listened when I talked about my work. He challenged my ideas in ways that made me sharper, not smaller. He had his own ambitions and didn't need me to sacrifice mine to make room for his. When I called him after talking to Michael, he picked up on the second ring. How do you feel about meeting my family? I asked. Is this the family you haven't spoken to in 3 years? That's the one. Sounds terrifying. I'm in. I should probably mention that my ex-fiancé married my cousin and they'll likely be there. Silence. Then. Okay, now I'm definitely in. This sounds like it'll be the most interesting wedding I've attended all year. You're ridiculous. You like that about me? I did. God help me, I really did. The flight back to Portland felt longer than any flight I'd taken for business. Daniel dozed beside me, his hand loosely holding mine. We'd agreed to keep things low-key, not to make a big deal about our relationship. This wasn't about revenge or proving anything. Except it absolutely was, and we both knew it. Michael picked us up from the airport. He hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe, then shook Daniel's hand with the kind of enthusiastic energy that made me remember why I'd missed him. I'm so glad you're here, he kept saying. Emma can't wait to meet you. Mom's been cooking for 2 days straight. Dad's pretending he's not emotional, but he absolutely is. My stomach tightened at the mention of my father. Mia and James will be there too, Michael added, glancing at me carefully. I invited them before I knew. I mean, I didn't know if it would be weird for you. It's your wedding, I said. Everyone who matters to you should be there. The rehearsal dinner was at a nice restaurant downtown. I'd chosen my outfit carefully. A navy dress that was professional but not uptight, elegant but not trying too hard. Daniel wore a suit that probably cost more than my first car but looked effortless on him. We walked in together, and I watched the room notice us. My mother saw me first. She gasped, dropped her wine glass on the table, and ran over to hug me. Sarah. Oh, sweetheart, you look wonderful. And you must be Daniel. Michael told us about you. My father stood more slowly. He looked older, grayer. He shook Daniel's hand, sized him up the way fathers do, and said, It's good to see you, Sarah. You too, Dad. Mia was there with James. She'd cut her hair short and gained some weight. She still looked beautiful, but there was something tight around her eyes, something strained. James had lost hair and gained muscle, the kind that comes from spending too much time at the gym avoiding home. They both stared when they saw me. Sarah, Mia said, her voice too bright. Oh my God, it's been forever. Look at you. Hi, Mia. James. James nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. Good to see you. The dinner was exactly as awkward as I'd expected. I sat between Michael and Daniel, answering questions about Singapore, about my job, about how Daniel and I met. My mother kept reaching over to touch my hand, as if making sure I was real. My father was quieter than usual, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Mia kept trying to engage me in conversation, asking about my apartment, my social life, whether I missed Portland. James said almost nothing, just pushed food around his plate and refilled his wine glass too often. So what do you do, Daniel? My father finally asked. I run a venture capital firm, Daniel said easily. We focus on fintech and sustainable technology in the Asia-Pacific region. Venture capital, my father repeated. That's quite lucrative, I imagine. Dad, I said quietly, a warning in my voice. I'm just making conversation, Sarah. It can be, Daniel said, unbothered. But Sarah makes more than I do. Her company went public last year. She's done remarkably well. The table went silent. You went public? My father said, looking at me. Your startup went public? Yes, I said. Last June. We rang the bell at the Singapore exchange. It was a good day. Why didn't you tell us? My mother asked. Because you chose me as trust fund over my potential. Because Dad thought I wasn't worth investing in. Because I built this without any of you, and I needed to prove I could. It was busy, I said instead. Everything happened very fast. Mia's face had gone pale. That's amazing, Sarah. Congratulations. James was staring at his plate like it held the secrets of the universe. My father cleared his throat. Well, that's quite an achievement. Thank you. The conversation moved on, but I felt my father's eyes on me for the rest of the evening. After dinner, when people were mingling over drinks, my father pulled me aside. Sarah, can we talk? Sure, Dad. We stepped out onto the restaurant's patio. It was a clear night, Portland's lights spread out below us. I owe you an apology, he said. I waited. When you left for Singapore, I thought you were running away. I thought you were being impulsive, emotional. I was worried about you. Were you? I was wrong. He continued. About a lot of things. You've built an incredible career. You've made something of yourself that I didn't see coming. No, I agreed. You didn't. James and Mia, he started, then stopped. Things didn't work out the way I'd hoped. How did you hope they'd work out, Dad? He looked at me then, really looked at me. I saw him realize that I knew. Saw the calculation in his eyes as he tried to figure out how much I knew. You saw the emails, he said quietly. I saw them. Sarah, did Mia know? I asked. Did she know you paid him? No, she didn't. She thought he chose her on his own. So you didn't just betray me. You manipulated her too. He flinched. I thought I was helping both of you. I thought Mia needed someone stable, and I thought James needed someone who could advance his career. I thought you needed someone who could appreciate you properly, and James wasn't that person. So you decided to play God with all our lives. I made a mistake. You put a price on your daughter, I said, my voice shaking now. $50,000. That's what I was worth to you. Less than Mia's trust fund, less than James's ambition. Just $50,000 to make me go away. That's not what I meant. Do you know what the worst part is? I interrupted. You were right. James wasn't worth my time. Mia's trust fund is impressive. Your investment in him probably would have paid off if he'd actually married her for the right reasons. You made all the right calculations. Then why are you angry? Because I'm your daughter. The words exploded out of me. I'm your daughter, and you should have invested in me. You should have believed in me. You should have told James that I was the catch, not Mia. You should have threatened him if he even thought about leaving me. But instead, you paid him to go. You taught me that even my own father doesn't think I'm worth fighting for. He looked stricken. Old. Tired. I'm sorry, he said. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I know you are, I said. But here's the thing, Dad. I learned my worth without you. I built my success without your investment. I found someone who chooses me every single day without needing 50,000 reasons to do it. So your apology, while I'm sure it's sincere, doesn't actually change anything. Can you forgive me? I thought about it, really thought about it. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday. But right now, I'm here for Michael. Not for you. Not for Mia. Not for James. I'm here because my brother is getting married and I love him. Don't mistake my presence for forgiveness. I walked back inside before he could respond. Daniel was waiting for me near the bar.